Today I'm reviewing A Court of Thorns and Roses, and just like with my Empyrean episode, I want to say upfront that I did not read this series for the smut, and I happily skipped those scenes. I'm here for the story, the character development, and the world building, and ACOTAR offers a surprisingly rich narrative across all three. Also worth noting, Sarah J. Maas writes in a shared multiverse. ACOTAR connects to the other works or her other works, especially Crescent City, with characters and artifacts crossing worlds. So this isn't just one fantasy world, it's part of a larger universe. This series begins with fairy tale echoes and evolves into a sweeping epic about trauma, healing, sovereignty, loyalty, and chosen family. A Court of Thorns and Roses follows Feyre Archeron, a mortal hunter supporting her family. After she kills a fairy wolf in the woods, she is taken across the wall into Prythian, a land ruled by ancient powerful Fae courts. What begins as a contained enchanted estate premise grows into a multi-arc fantasy involving political alliances, ancient magic, war, trauma recovery, and leadership. The story expands from personal survival to mythic scale. The early narrative mirrors the original 1740 Beauty and the Beast by Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve, not the Disney version. Belle has two sisters, and Nesta and Elaine reflect that dynamic. Feyre's arrival in Prythian carries that classic tone of a mortal entering an enchanted domain, with a powerful being insisting he's not her captor, including the line, "I'm not your jailer." Later, when Feyre's father's ships return and restore their fortune, it evokes the Merchant of Venice, a dramatic reversal of fate before the tone shifts into political fantasy. The overarching plot develops in three major arcs. First, Amarantha. Feyre begins in poverty and hunts to survive, but is drawn into Prythian under a deadly bargain. Somewhat. Under the mountain, she faces trials, breaks Amarantha's curse, and returns changed. Body, mind, purpose, and world awareness. This phase is about awakening to magic, to power structures, to love, and to the cost of survival. Second, Hybern. The second arc expands to geopolitical conflict. Alliances forged, High Lords united, trauma confronted, and Feyre rises as High Lady. The Night Court's ideals clash with imperialistic ideology. Power becomes responsibility. Love becomes partnership. This act is political adulthood. War, sacrifice, sovereignty. Third, Brialyn. The third arc shifts from armies to ancient magic and contained threat. Brialyn represents corrupted immortality, Cochet manipulates from the shadows, and Nesta becomes weapon and shield. This phase centers personal transformation as world defense and introduces Valkyrie resurgence, mythic magic, and relational healing. Cochet remains at large. Baron remains a political threat. Court alliances remain fragile, and with the multiverse in play, future conflicts may come from beyond Prythian. One of the most meaningful through lines in the series is how Feyre, Nesta, and Elaine redefine family, not just by blood, but by choice. Feyre begins as a reluctant provider tied to her sisters by duty and survival, but in Prythian, she begins to build a chosen family shaped by trust, loyalty, and shared wounds. At the Night Court, she is not just welcomed, she is claimed as equal. Mor, Cassian, Azriel, and Amren don't simply become allies, they become anchors, mentors, protectors, and lifelong friends. Each one teaches her something different: strategy, emotional discipline, empathy, and power that doesn't consume. Rice's inner circle becomes her home, not because they rescue her, but because they respect her. They meet her trauma with gentleness and her power with pride instead of fear. It is a found family built on loyalty without ownership. Meanwhile, Elaine quietly builds bonds of her own. Her connection with the race, particularly Nuala and Ceridwen, reflects a softer path to belonging. Where others see fragility, they see potential and treat her not as someone breakable, but as someone becoming. It's a whisper-soft form of sisterhood forged in empathy and shared observation, not battle. Elaine's relationships remind us quiet does not mean small, and connection doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. Then there's Nesta, whose journey transforms isolation into sisterhood through pain, grit, and earned trust. In the training ring, she isn't coddled. She is challenged, humbled, and eventually reborn into strength she carves for herself. With Gwyn and Emery, she built a bond not rooted in shared trauma alone, but in shared discipline, shared rage, shared triumph. Together, they revived the Valkyrie legacy, not because destiny demanded it, but because they chose one another when the world told them they were broken. Their sisterhood is earned through sweat, tears, fear, and belief. And the House of Wind itself, gentle, patient, quietly nurturing, a symbolic mother figure holding space for healing without asking for anything in return. Blood family, found family, chosen family, this series argues they can coexist. But most importantly, it shows that healing often happens in community, and that the people who walk beside you in your darkest moments are the ones who truly become home. Farah begins as a reluctant provider and evolves into a sovereign who defines herself by choice, not circumstance. Her arc is one of economic hardship, survival skill, emotional intelligence, political agency. Painting her compass for identity and empathy feels crucial, and its fading remains one of the series' most emotionally unresolved threads. Her journey ultimately celebrates autonomy, strategic leadership, and the quiet daily work of rebuilding herself after trauma. Elaine appears gentle, almost ethereal, but beneath that softness is steel. Her infamous moment, "I hope they all burn in hell," disrupts expectations and reveals capacity for moral intensity. Her arc is one of quiet evolution, not dramatic transformation. She represents delayed emergence, the type of strength that blooms in silence. Her future direction feels intentional and unfinished, restrained for now, but seeds for formidable growth. Nesta's story is not simply redemption, it's reclamation. Rage, grief, shame, and pride converge into a warrior monk-style journey through discipline, vulnerability, earned sisterhood. She learns to let love coexist with autonomy. She becomes a Valkyrie not by blood, but by choice and sacrifice, a symbol of rage rewritten into resilience. Her wielding of power is deeply human, imperfect, hard-won, and emotionally raw. Hamlin embodies the dangers of power without reflection. His arc illustrates how fear disguised as protection collapses into control, and how grief can calcify into obsession. He is not framed as a caricatured villain, but a tragic figure undone by rigidity and pride. His fall underscores the thematic divide between dominance and partnership and the cost of refusing evolution. Lucian is loyalty anchored by trauma, political displacement, and identity fracture. He carries allegiances to two courts, baggage from his heritage, and the burden of unwanted fate through his mating bond. His humor masks exile, his honor masks loneliness. His narrative potential is vast. He is a bridge between realms, ideologies, and future conflicts. Rice balances darkness and tenderness, not as duality but as integration. His trauma informs compassionate leadership. His court is built on consent, choice, and strength without coercion, a deliberate thematic foil to traditional dangerous Fae lover tropes. His arc shows that power held well requires vulnerability and trust. Moore's emotional intelligence in steel casing, diplomatic, charismatic, and unflinching in her value of agency. Her story is one of internal identity sovereignty. She embodies the right to reveal oneself on one's terms. She is joy, trauma, grace, and political finesse, carrying the burden of truth as both weapon and shield. Cassian exemplifies loyalty as strength and humility as power. His leadership is grounded not in dominance but in service and emotional steadiness. His relationship with Nesta demonstrates a model of love that supports without rescuing. presence over control. Azriel is a study in restraint and the ethics of silence. He embodies the quiet discipline of someone shaped by darkness but not defined by it. His emotional arc centers on longing, self-denial, loyalty, the unseen labor of protecting a world from its own shadows. Amren is ancient power within fragile flesh, a reminder that true immortality is not in form but in will. Her art explores identity after godhood, mortality as a choice, and loyalty earned through found family. She is a strategist, a scholar of destruction, and a creature relearning humanity. Gwyn represents renewal through discipline and gentleness forged in trauma. Her training arc highlights the courage to rebuild identity after violation. Her relationship to power is not about dominance but self-possession. She embodies hope earned through bravery. Emery is quiet endurance forged in the fires of oppression. Her journey is liberation not just from systems but from inherited narrative. Proving that freedom begins internally, her art symbolizes courage found in solidarity and refusal to be diminished. Amarantha's tyranny establishes the emotional stakes of the world. Power unchecked by empathy and trauma weaponized. She is brutally masquerading as order. Jurian is vengeance woven into duty. His resurrection complicates morality and history. Trauma living past its era. Vasa is a mythic threat. Sovereignty trapped, future power foreshadowed. She suggests geopolitical expansion beyond Prythian. Brialin represents corrupted ambition and the danger of power without discipline. Her art deepens the theme of immortality without wisdom is decay. Nyx symbolizes legacy and future continuity. Innocence born into consequence, hope inheriting war's aftermath, and the future of Prythian. There are 7 courts: night, day, dawn, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Plus the mortal lands, Hypern and human territories beyond Prythian. They are ruled by High Lords and one High Lady, ancient treaties, political alliances, and the shadow structure of the hewn city. High Fae are court-aligned nobles and leaders possessing advanced magic and political power. Lesser Fae is a wide spectrum of magical beings often integrated into court society but sometimes marginalized or subjugated. Illyrians are a warrior society with wings, known for military tradition, discipline, and internal cultural rigidity. Castes, misogyny, and ritual brutality form a core part of their socio-political tension. Seraphim are often associated with avian angelic lineage distinct from Illyrians. They possess wings and unique anatomical and magical traits, and represent a broader diversity of winged fae beyond the Night Court's military culture. Their existence implies an expansive cosmology and migrations of winged peoples across courts and continents. Peregrines are another winged fae line with cultural identity independent from Illyrians. Azrael's shadows hint at a much larger winged fae diaspora that includes peregrine aristocracy, political factions, and unique traditions. Their presence underscores that Illyrians are not the only aerial martial or noble class in this world. Valkyrie is not a race, but a resurrected martial order, strength earned by discipline, training, and sisterhood rather than the bloodline. A few ancient entities that were mentioned are the Cauldron and the Mother, the Bone Carver, Weaver, the Surreal, Ouroboros, Amren's former race, Lanthis, Koshei. What stood out for me were Fairy being crowned High Lady, the comeback of the Valkyrie, the Blood Rite, Elaine's unexpected fury, and the House of Wind's gentle loyalty. My critiques are Fairy's painting deserved a more complete emotional resolution. Mating bonds can feel deterministic. Book 1 brushes trauma bonding before subverting it. Koshei and Baron remain active threats. Elaine's arc is clearly not finished. Nesta remains between Valkyrie and Corinthian potential. Court alliances are fluid, and the multiverse door is now open. ACOTAR begins as a fairy tale retelling and becomes an emotionally layered fantasy about autonomy, healing, sovereignty, and chosen family. It blends mythology, politics, trauma work, and romance into a character-driven epic. If you prefer strict hard magic systems or plot-only fantasy without romance elements, this may not be your style. But if you like character evolution, mythic lore, and emotional stakes, then this series is worth it. Tell me, which arc or character resonated with you most and why? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next episode.